bonus podcast.
Bonus podcast!
Alright, how do I start this thing recording?
I'm ready for some podcast.
Okay. Our topics discussions... What? Topics of discussion are cups, roads, numbers, Donald Trump's skin, coffee, and ASMR.
Okay, but seriously, is Donald Trump actually going to win the primary?
No.
I don't think so.
Right now, he's just he's the whipping boy that's trying to distract people from all the other people that know or that you don't really want elected. Like, it takes heat off of guys like Rick Santorum and Jeb Bush and all that.
Him elected.
He's not going to get elected. He's the sacrificial lamb that deflects from all the other people that could be having scandals. It's a way to keep it so that they don't have to mudsling at each other and they can just target Donald Trump.
Now we're in the conspiracy theory portion of the podcast, I guess.
He's been running for president for like 30-some years. Like, every time that he gets a chance, he's like, oh, I'm going to be president, of course.
Has he run before?
Yeah, like, he's run before, he's talked about it before, like, he's always talking about, like, oh, if I was in charge, blah, blah, blah. Like, that time he said that...
Well, everybody's talking about that. I mean, to be fair, like, you can't, like, walk past a drugstore counter and be like, man, if I was in charge, things would be a lot better. You'd think that one of those guys could win an election, but no, it's all these people who get in charge and things aren't better. How does that keep happening?
Mostly because...
Everybody has such a great idea for how to run the country, and they keep electing the people who don't know what they're doing.
That's the conspiracy right there. That's the two parties, like, selecting the most viable quote-unquote candidate.
That guy at the drugstore, he would... I'm sure he would, know about, like, foreign policy and all kinds of great stuff.
Yeah, I heard some really I heard some really high people talking about how it should be like jury duty, and they just call people up to be president for like 2 weeks. I'm like, that's the worst idea I have ever heard.
Good God, you'd get briefed and then you'd leave.
Yeah.
Like, here's the situation in North Korea, and we're done.
Next, Congress would love that. Congress would be like, well, president doesn't have any power anymore.
Yeah, it's like presidential vacations. Like, a presidential vacation starts out with a 4-hour briefing in the morning.
I know, I get where they're coming from, because the other option is, like, the people who really want to be in charge are like, I don't know if I want somebody who's just really gung-ho about running everything in everybody's lives.
Yes.
That seems like a bad idea, too, but somebody's got to do it.
Or you're really qualified at getting elected, but that doesn't actually mean you're qualified at doing things.
Like our current sitting president.
The job you're running for is running for a job, which is really confusing.
I'm just confused by, like, I think that there are some people who are genuinely, like, excited about the idea of Trump as a candidate.
Yeah, my dad's one of those people. He thinks that, like, oh, if he could make millions of dollars, he can run a country better than these guys can because he knows business. And I'm like, he kind of inherited a fortune. It's easy to, like, stay, like, at that level whenever you've inherited a fortune. He didn't come up from, like recycling cans or something like that.
Well, yeah, and we don't need, like, I believe in business in America, but you don't need somebody who's going to jump in and then just make business, like, we're just going to prop up all the businesses and make decisions for, that are good for business and stuff. Like, there are other concerns.
Is that even what he would do?
I don't know, man. I've been very, trying to avoid hearing what he's been saying.
I always do. I always contemplate leaving the country during the election year. Not year, but...
It's not even... Okay,
like,
so this...
There just needs to be a mute button on anything social media about the elections. Like, and I do a lot of zipping. Are we
actually voting for somebody this year? Is that actually happening?
No, it's 16.
Yeah, it's not even this year. We're not even having primaries this year. We've still got, 9 months of this crap before we can actually vote against him.
It's the universal theory of creep. Everything is getting pushed further back and further back and further back. It's like Christmas ornaments every year. Like, it's just another couple weeks further, another couple weeks further. Like, all the Halloween stuff that's up right now. In a couple weeks, it might be appropriate. But come on, you don't need to buy your pumpkins 9 weeks out.
I was just, I was legitimately starting to freak out. Like, did I forget something? Like, is this somehow, are we having our primary in November, and that's why everybody's freaking out about this? Because how is this happening?
Yeah, the first real important caucus isn't until, February, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they need to be cocky.
Cockeye?
Yeah.
I went to vote in one of those last year. I actually registered because I was trying to push for Ron Paul. I had to register as a Republican, and I went to one of those meetings, and like, I felt like I was totally silenced there. And it's weird because you don't just go and you like check a box and you put it in. You go into like your little section of voters, and then you have a debate over which section your group is going to support. And like,
it's weird.
It's really weird. It's like, just let me check a box and get out. I don't need to spend like 2 hours listening to this like really, really angry guy talking about.
That's what a caucus is. It's not a vote. It's like you do weird voodoo rituals, and then you bounce a ball, and then someone gets nominated for the Republican Party.
And that's the first one too, right? Like, it's Iowa. They have a caucus, and they're the first one, which means I think it's one of those. It's actually a little bit easier to game. Like, as far as getting, you can manipulate that more because the people who are going to those, if you're going to go to a caucus and, like, do for your candidate, you are a hardcore supporter.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot more hardcore supporters than just sort of like, I'm kind of in favor of this guy, then, which, again, arguably, maybe you don't want the people who are just like, yes, elect Trump! The people are frothing at the mouth. I swear I saw, like, there was one of those all caps comments, like, defending Donald Trump's one of his comments. I don't even want to repeat what he said, but like, I was just like, really? Like, you're that angry that I don't know. Politics is just.
All I know is that I saw Donald Trump apply lipstick in person.
You are so anti-makeup, Tony. What is up with your anti-makeup stance?
It was weird that like he went for light pink, like just this really like almost like sparkly light pink. It was like someone handed him the wrong tube. And like I'm watching backstage.
Maybe that's his color, Tony. Do you know how to match your skin tone to your lips?
I was at a business exposition. I got in because I wanted to see Rudy Giuliani and a bunch of other people. Like, there was just a ton of people. Like, head of Southwest Airlines, all this stuff. I volunteered to be security so that I could get in for free because it was like a $400 conference to go to. And I was stationed like 30 feet from the stage so I could also see backstage. And like, it was just bizarre seeing him. And like, the reason why his hair is such a problem and why it's such a hack thing at this point is because it's weird on TV and it's hypnotizing in person. It's like you're watching it move and part and repart and just exist. Like, there's more sentience in his hair than in some people that I've met.
Okay. I want to hear about this lipstick, though.
No,
Was he carrying it around in his, like, in his pocket or whatever? Did it look like
it might have been
lipstick, or was it?
It might have been what billionaires use for chapstick. Like, it was in like a little gold case and everything. But I swear it looked like he put the little thing out like lipstick would, and then just like put it all over his face right before the speech. And like during the speech, he and Julie, like, this was 2006. So, like, him and Giuliani were kind of pretending like they were going to run for president. I think Giuliani did that year. Like, they were both like, and if I get up there, you better come out and vote. And, like, they were doing that sort of thing. And it was a fascinating conference. And he was, like, Trump was talking about how he likes to bury his enemies and all this other stuff. It was a very interesting conference.
How does he like to bury his enemies?
Just financially. He likes to just completely make it so that they're forgotten.
Are they like, he stands them up on their heads in like a really narrow hole and throws the dirt in that way?
Or it's like whenever you bury someone on a beach.
It's more efficient.
Like, whenever you go up and it's low tide and you bury them so just their head is above, and then you wait for the tide to rise, like that.
Ugh.
I saw that at Mythbusters.
Did it work?
Did you? So the myth, the way they did it was like they tried it with like regular sort of dry sand, and they were able to kind of get out of the dry sand, but when it was wet sand, they were not able to escape quickly enough to like because the tide was coming in. So like they floundered around and it seemed like maybe they were making some kind of progress for a while, but it took so many hours that they were getting tired and the water would have been over their heads by that point.
Yeah.
What was the myth? I don't understand.
That you could the whole pirate bury people up to their necks in sand and let the tide come in to kill them. Method of execution. They were testing if that would work.
Did people think you could get out? Do you have any idea how hard it is to get out of sand if you're buried in, especially vertically?
I've kind of would have felt like maybe I could get out. Maybe
it is. Unbelievable.
I think it would really depend on the position of the arms. Like, if you had your arms at your side, you would be screwed. But if they
Yeah, no, the arms were at the side in this particular method.
If you had your arms spread a little bit, you could probably get out. But just like arms completely tight to you, that would be nearly impossible.
No, just no. There's no way. Have you ever been buried in sand?
I've been buried a little bit.
Have you been buried in sand? I feel like you have been.
Yes,
I mean,
I've
Joseph.
definitely done.
No one was ever cruel enough to bury me up to my neck in sand.
It wasn't cruel. It's like you're playing on the beach and you dig a hole. Then, like, I've never been up to my neck, but I've definitely been like, I forget how deep I have been in. Probably hip deep, and it's just like you're not moving. It's hard to get out hip deep. I'll put it that way. Like pulling yourself out of sand is just really difficult. Maybe
People
pure
have died
dry
like
sand would move faster. I could see that, but any amount of realistic sand is going to have water in it, and you're just absolutely
at the
stuck.
beach with the tide coming in, it would definitely.
Like next time you're at bury your one leg up to the knee, and then just try and pull it out vertically, and see how hard that is.
Next time I have time to go to the beach, I will do that.
No, now.
Saturday.
Go.
All right, bye, guys.
Live podcast from the beach.
Periscope.
Do we ever get on Periscope? No one's on Periscope?
I'm on Periscope.
I haven't.
I don't do anything on it.
Mostly because I know it's a drain on a data plan if I'm like trying to do something away from the house.
That's why you don't do that much away from the house. Also, I just got a message from AT&T. They're just like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we just doubled your data plan. No charge. Thanks. You're an awesome customer." And I was like, "Okay, well, thank you, AT&T. I appreciate that. Now I have like 12 gigabytes a month instead of 6 or whatever."
This part of the podcast brought to you by AT&T.
I'm just saying, it was like, that's who I have, and that's what they did. I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right, what topic do you want to hear Donald Trump's opinions on? I found a page where we have quotes from him on all kinds of...
I want to hear about his thoughts on the moon being a hologram.
Well, the moon is a hologram, Tony.
Spread it out to space exploration. What does Donald Trump think about space?
I'm not seeing that. Oh, that's...
Oh. I was going to say, he's a presidential candidate. He's got to talk about like how NASA's like spending all of our money. Right?
Yeah, they're 4/10 on the dollar.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
So he's not pulling
one of the moon people!
He's not pulling a Newt Gingrich. He doesn't want a moon base.
I've not seen anything about the moon. That's suspicious enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't want us out there. He's like, I'm just not gonna.
So, like, I'm starting to think he might be a werewolf or something if he's not wanting to talk about the moon. That explains some
what
of
is
the
Donald Trump hiding on the moon?
Werewolves of outer space.
Werewolves of outer space.
So, I have a question. If you have a werewolf and you send him to the moon, what happens? How?
He suffocates?
He dies?
Does he
asphyxiates?
I think that he needs to be on Earth. Like, that the whole lunar cycle only matters on Earth, right?
Probably. But he's still getting, like, straight up lunar reflection.
Also, it's not a full moon anywhere else but on Earth, right? So, like, the moon is only full because that's the side of the... Like, that side of the moon is being illuminated facing Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he turns into a werewolf every day? Like, when the light... Like, when he gets into the circle of where the light is or whatever?
Maybe it'll depend on, like, the way the Earth is showing, because I'm sure there's, like, full Earth, half Earth, like, all that stuff, just like there's moon phases, or probably Earth phases, too.
Yes, there are phases of the Earth.
From the moon, yeah. So is that it?
It just inverts?
No, it's supposed to be phases of the moon. That's the way werewolves work.
Maybe it's...
Well, that's what we're wondering. What if he's on the moon?
Yes, I know, but I'm saying, like, it wouldn't... What kind of werewolf is this? Is this a supernatural werewolf?
Yes. Is there any other
Then how do you get on the
It's
moon?
one of the real werewolves.
You can't... Did a witch put him up there?
No, Trump did.
Like, say you've got, like, a big, giant dome, so there's a lot of light that can come in, and he's just, like, on the moon. He's getting, like, the reflected moon dust on him. Like, all of that. Like, it's just straight up hitting him most of the time.
I still don't understand why he wouldn't asphyxiate.
Because he's in a giant dome filled with oxygen.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand. I heard you say giant dome, and I was like, I don't care what kind of a shape it is. Like,
I'm just saying something that can allow the natural
breathable
sunlight
air.
in. So it can refract off of the moon.
So you
I
think
never
that...
understood... Go ahead.
Well, so Tony, your theory is that it's not the phases of the moon; it's that the light
it's the power
reflecting
of the
off
moon.
of lunar
yeah, it's
dust.
like the amount of dust coming off of or the amount of light coming off the moon. And it just peaks at that time.
Interesting.
Well, why doesn't he turn into a werewolf during the day then? There's so much light of the same exact kind.
No, it's not reflected off the moon dust.
Oh, is that what it is? Like, there's a special quality of moon dust?
That's Tony's theory.
Reflected?
We are talking about werewolves, so I'm not sure we're going to really reach a consensus here.
If we bring back, like, a bunch of moon dirt and, like, reflect the sun off of, like, during the midday, just reflect the sun off of the moon dirt onto the werewolf, will he turn into a werewolf?
I'm thinking if you got a room and painted the walls with moon dust and put a sodium bulb in there, you might be able to influence the transformation.
That's like
turning
Portal,
into like
it?
Jason X stuff at this point.
That's what the portal gun works on.
Moon dust?
Yeah.
Hey, the Asylum, we know you're listening. Let Albert write and make this movie.
No, I want to write the zombie dinosaur movie.
Yeah, but it's eventually going to be
Very clear
zombie
on that.
dinosaurs versus the moon werewolf.
I do not think
werewolf.
so. So how far does immortality for a werewolf go? Because the idea are they actually immortal if you don't kill them with a silver bullet? Can they starve to death? Can they be asphyxiated? Like,
I think they would
do
just
they
go
on
into
forever?
like a husk and just like eventually, if you brought it back to Earth like 1,000 years later under the full moon, it would just like regenerate and come back.
Like, that's the problem with a lot of these sort of supernaturally immortal creatures, right? Like zombies, and specifically zombies, because they'll have apocalypse stories where the zombies are trying to eat the people, but eventually, you get to the point where it's the post-apocalypse and they're still hanging around. It's like, well, how are they going? What are they metabolizing after 20 years?
Also, they've come back from the dead.
No, well, I mean, we could kind of buy that.
That was kind of
I mean,
addressed in World War Z about like the scientific anomalies about like the reasons why they could exist in salt water for so long when they should have just dissolved and all this, and it's like these scientific mysteries.
I was gonna say that's not addressing it. That's just saying, it sure is weird that zombies can survive without eating. That is odd.
That the only time they smelled is because the rot in their stomach whenever they ate somebody, like that meat was rotting, but they aren't rotting themselves.
Another thing they like hung the lampshade on and didn't in World War Z and didn't actually fully address was the idea of how the zombies can find you. Because they're like, is it, and how they knew that you were or were not a zombie. They're like, it's not smell, it's not, like they had some kind of a psychic type connection because they went through all the stuff, that they hunted a certain amount by smell and a certain amount, by hearing, but there was more to it than just that. Like you couldn't just cut a zombie's ears and nose off and not, have them not be able to find you.
Yeah, a lot of them say it's kind of auditory. Like what you'd have to do is you'd have to get zombies, and you'd have to for one set you would gouge their eyes out. The next you would just fill their nose with caulk or something so that they couldn't smell anything. Just keep trying which senses are actually the thing. And if you get to a zombie where it's just you filled every possible orifice that could sense anything, then you realize it's
Okay, I'm glad you tacked that on there at the end.
Yes, agreed. Why do you keep shoving things up its butt? It's for science, man.
Why did you start there? It seems unlikely.
They detect by sphincter muscle.
I'm sure of it. Listen, let's try putting a clothespin on the nose first, man. It's got to be worth a shot.
I'm just saying, scientific method way, that's how I would start, is I would just plug holes one by one, and then, at the end, you would plug as many as possible, and then you would see which one actually works. And if all of their senses are completely dulled out and they still know, then it's supernatural.
In the Walking Dead series, it's scent, isn't it? Because I know in the first season they get away from the zombies by smearing zombie guts all over themselves.
Yeah,
at one
helps,
point.
Yeah, they're definitely tracking the sound too.
I don't think that's a spoiler. I also this may be more of a spoiler, but later on in the series, I've heard that there's a woman who has zombies that she carries with her.
You can pacify the zombies by basically cutting their arms off and taking their jaw off so they can't eat. They just kind of stand around.
There was a character that had just ripped the jaws of some zombies off and had them with her so that they couldn't eat her and bite her. I remember the box art for that where he's standing on top of one of the walls or something and with a gun, and he has his sheriff hat on because he still has that after 8 years in the zombie apocalypse or whatever.
It's like 3 months.
Okay. Still, like, he like, people die and stuff, but man, he's hung on to that hat. He's still got that.
That's what we're focused on.
I guess it keeps the sun off of him. You do want to worry about skin cancer. The zombies don't get you. You don't want to die of, like...
Man, this mole is looking kind of malignant. That would suck so bad. It just, like, keeps growing and you get no one to cut it off. Unless you mysteriously find, like, a dermatologist in the woods.
That was one of the things I liked.
What?
That's one of them our forest dermatologists I've heard so much about.
That's what it sounded like. I don't know why
He's just like sitting there like with like his stethoscope in a chair. He's like, finally a customer.
But yeah, the mole is the bet, not the crumbling of society. It's that you have a mole.
I like the. They probably do something similar in The Walking Dead, but in Z Nation, because it takes place like 3 years after basically everything has just gone to crap, they have, sort of reestablished new types of currency, and it's bullets and drugs, which I thought was neat. So it's like OxyContin is like, $100 bill or whatever.
That's actually what I did in the Human Echoes novel way back in the day. Except I added prostitution to it.
They have that in this as well. It's a little bit like, well, they have that element, but they have sort of a twist on it.
What was I going to say about zombies, though?
I don't know, man.
I had a thought, and I never see anyone do it. And if you put like a fishing pole in a zombie's down his back of a zombie's shirt and dangle an arm in front of him, and then tie him to anything, you're gonna have basically an engine or a motor. I forget the difference.
It'd be
he just keeps walking, and you have
perpetual
free
motion
energy.
machine. The only problem is it would have to be a fresh arm, so you have to find a bunch of those.
Well, now we're back to what exactly.
I feel like I've seen that before, but I don't know. Like, I want to say I saw that in Z Nation, but I can't remember specifically if I did or not.
What I would do with that, instead of doing the fishing
boon to mankind.
Yeah. What I would do instead of doing the whole arm thing is I would just have clear hamster style wheels and then just have people doing their office work in front of it.
I mean, I didn't mean you had to do the fishing pole route, but point being is, you have...
They can't die, they go on forever.
Yes, and they apparently don't need... I guess that's why they don't actually exist.
It turns out. It's kind of a dumb idea.
It kind of breaks the laws of thermodynamics when you think about it.
That's why movies like 28 Days Later...
machines cannot exist.
28 Days Later probably played it right. They can starve to death. They just start getting weaker and weaker and slower.
28 Days Later, they basically have rabies.
Yeah.
Like really fast-acting rabies. The same thing they did with Quarantine. That's the new sort of scientifically accurate zombies, is really fast onset rabies.
And it's slowly, they just become less if they can't eat.
They just die?
Yeah. And if it's anything like actual rabies, it would eventually kill them anyway.
What was the sequel to what?
What was the deal with 28 Days Later? He was in rehab or something?
He was
he just woke up in the hospital. I don't think they gave a specific reason. It was the same thing with Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, they were they don't almost shot for shot.
I don't know that they ever figure out what he was sick with and why he didn't get eaten.
Yeah, Rick.
My theory was always that he had some kind of a latent version of the zombie. Like the instant that I saw that opening of The Walking Dead, it was he's got some kind of a not activated version of the zombie virus. What they do in Z Nation, by the way. They just bring that right out in the first season. You don't have to wait for 8 seasons for that to be a thing.
They brought that out in the first season of The Walking Dead, that everybody's infected already. So if you die of any death...
but I mean they're in Z Nation there is a character that has been bitten, but he'd been injected with an experimental serum, so it didn't turn him right away, but he's starting to his skin gets all weird and pale, his teeth are falling out, his hair's falling out, and the zombies don't attack him. So he's still sentient. He can bite people, and if he bites them, they get his power. Not his power, but I mean, they turn into
pseudo-zombies.
Something the zombies will not attack.
Yeah. I remember seeing that in the first episode where he gets torn up in that first one. He got messed up.
He did, and they keep like having him raise his shirt and show all those like giant hunks of skin that have been pulled out of him. It's like he survived. He's got to get to California.
Is he immortal?
Unless
you pierce his brain.
Yeah, I think that if he got, I don't know. They've never actually shot him yet, so I don't know.
I could see that coming into an episode eventually, just like him getting impaled by something.
He's not in a hurry to find out. He's not a very altruistic kind of character.
No one's
kind of a giant
to?
douchebag. No, because he's with these like 6 or 7, the people, the cast of the show basically. They're all helping him get across the country so they can find the cure. They also keep peppering in little hints in that show about like maybe the zombies aren't completely beyond getting back.
Redemption.
Yeah, like, because there's a couple episodes where he shows up, in one episode in particular, like, there's a zombie that keeps, just, like, follows him around like a puppy dog, because, he's off on his own at that point, and he, like, kind of gets back to the group, and she, like, just sort of, like, comes in and, sort of, like, stumbles towards them, and, they're about to shoot him, and he's like, can we not just do that every time? And it's interesting because he's, like, the bridge, right? He's the... he's half in the human world, half in the zombie world, so I think he's starting to empathize with, like, the zombies. And there's a moment in season 1 where he does something, totally screws over human family, and you could say it's because he's basically a giant jerk, and he kind of is, but it may also be because he's reuniting them with their zombified father, and he doesn't see the line as starkly as other people do. It's a good show, man!
Eat a hamburger.
What's it made out of?
I don't know. It's like a normal hamburger. You get a hamburger from a restaurant.
Is it cooked?
Would a zombie want that? Yeah, it's cooked. Do they have to have raw flesh?
I don't know. I remember Brantley telling me something about, and I've never watched the Living Dead movies, but one of the interesting things, I guess, about those are semi-sentient zombies, and they were able to talk to one, and they ask, why are you, like, what is it like being a zombie? And she says, it really hurts. And, why do you want to eat brains? Because it makes it hurt less. I sort of like that idea. I don't really want talking zombies that much, but I thought that was kind of a cool, like, thing. But most zombies don't really care about brains specifically, so I don't know. It seems like that they want things that are, like, alive.
Yeah, they have to want things that are alive, otherwise it doesn't spread.
Yeah.
And even then, it's still pretty difficult to spread. I've never been able to actually make it happen in my brain.
In Z Nation, are animals zombies? Chased down by zombies? Like, can animals turn?
Yes, because they have a zombie bear at one point.
That would suck.
Zombie bear!
And a zombie dog that shows up, like, in the 2nd or 3rd episode.
I think there is. I don't know.
There's a great scene in one of the Wild Clown novels by G. Wells Taylor, which is about, like, a world where instead of it being like a classic zombie virus, it's just the idea that death basically gave up on the Earth.
Oh yeah, I read one of those.
So you can't die. You die, but you come back, and you're just like, I guess here I am now.
If you get in, like, a horrible car accident, do you still have to deal with the injuries if you kind of die? Or do you...
Yeah.
That sucks.
Oh, no, you... Like, that's one of the things they talked about, because everything comes back to life. Like, everything that has any kind of form. So, there's points in the novel where the character talks about, like, man, it must suck to be, like, one of these people that's, like, decayed to the point where they can't get out of their coffin, but they're still down there, like, alive and not able to leave.
Oh, God.
What about, like, a cheeseburger?
Yeah, no, you can't eat. There's no meat anymore.
It's all like seaweed based now, right? Or something like that?
Yes.
All food is killed.
Basically, there's no meat eating left, because you can't kill, like, the only way to kill something is to burn it so far that it's not edible anymore. Just turn it into a crisp. And one of the ways that they can get rid of people is they'll shred them, but they'll still be, like, even the pieces are still moving
just
around.
Like inert goo.
So there's
like
a question of, like,
yeah.
So, like, is that person still... Like, you can't ask them, obviously, but there's the fear that, like, that person is actually still alive, just in horrible, agonizing pain forever.
Yeah, you're not exactly putting them back together.
Yeah. And even, like... you can blow somebody's brains out, but if you can get the brains and, like, dump them back in the skull, they'll still be okay. Like, they won't remember if the brains are gone, but, like, you put the brains back and they're kind of like, all right, I'm still here. It doesn't have to be in the right order or anything. It's very
You'd have to, like, send people into the sun or something like that. Just vaporize them.
Anyway, well, they don't have spaceships. Don't be ridiculous, Tony.
They have free unlimited power.
Nobody can die. No, well, they still have to eat. I don't know if you're going to die if you don't eat, but you're going to waste away. And, like, all the zombies are, like, once you are dead, then you have to worry about, like, keeping your skin looking
Oh, yeah,
normal.
there's a whole industry around that, right?
Such a fascinating world-building concept. Anyway, but there was, at one point, you're talking about the heads in the jars. At one point in one of the later novels, he encounters a circus act, which is, you know how, like, they'll preserve fetuses and, like, weird medical abnormalities in jars?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He finds, because everything comes back to life that's anywhere close to being still together, those things are alive in their formaldehyde jars.
That makes sense.
And, like, you know, and still, to a certain extent, sentient. And there's, at one, like, towards the end of the novel, spoilers for people who want to read this, but, like, they get out and sort of, like, are trying to, like, fight against the bad guy, but they fall into some water. And, like, because they've been in formaldehyde for so long, their skin just starts, like, flaking into pieces and dissolving as they're fighting against the bad guys. Really cool imagery.
Oh, that's right. The guy dresses like a clown, too.
You have this whole weird world built, and
Yes.
then, like, on top of that, it's a spirit of a dead PI inhabiting, like, not inhabiting, what's the word when like, a demon takes over? Possessing the body of this guy who, like, the conditions of the possession are he has to dress like a clown, or, like, the body kicks him out.
That was just odd.
And they still haven't gone into what that was about yet.
It's like, what, pick one. Take one bizarre, premise and go with that. Like, I remember being like, this is unnecessarily weird at this point. Like, the world was fascinating, and it was a good story. I never really went back to it, though, to his other books, just because, I don't know, it just was like, why, what? Why are we piling this on top of this?
I kind of like the variance effect by him, if you want another sort of... I don't like all of his stuff, but I like the variance effect, and I'm really enjoying Dracula of the Apes, which I've mentioned on the main podcast several times. You made such a big deal about that, and you're like, no, I'm not going to actually read it, I'm just going to...
Well, his eyes exploded.
Oh, yeah, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I had the glaucoma flecking today. Or glaucom flecking.
How did that go, by the way? You got more lasers in your eyes today, right?
Just a few. Like, he was like, I want to make it so that you can have your eye dilated and get lasers and, like, not have it seal up, so I'm going to make a hole that's bigger than all of them. It's like, okay.
What?
Yeah.
Was that good?
I don't know. I mean, it didn't hurt as much this time, but that's because the pressure's low. The last time, like, the pressure was at, like, 8 today, which is normal. If it's anything under 20, it's not going to hurt. I was at 50, so my eye was, like, trying to rupture.
God.
And... like, so he just made some holes, and he's like, now the fluid can go places. And he also, like, zapped a bunch of scar tissue out, like, just blasted scar tissue into nothingness. So.
Can you, like, in the days before lasers, did they have to do that with, like, needles? Can you actually poke a physical hole in the eye to relieve that pressure, or is that undoable?
I'm not entirely sure. Like, I think they're talking about how they might have to replace my lens if it gets really bad. And that's, like, just putting in, like, kind of a... like, it's a pseudoplastic, like, spongy... I don't think it's silicone. I can't remember what the actual material is. But it's taking out the biological lens and putting in a physical one. I think a lot of this surgery wasn't even available until pretty recently.
Well, that stuff's like... I mean, that's basically like LASIK, right?
LASIK, they don't take the lens.
I thought they did.
They
replaced it.
What they do is they basically put this thing that looks like an old credit card reader over your eye, and they slice off the top of your eye and make a flap. Then they blast a bunch of stuff in there. I don't know exactly how it works. It's pretty much magic.
So they reform the lens.
Yeah.
Then.
Yes.
And then put it back on.
So that's why you have bad eyesight, is your lenses.
Well, you're going to have the flap sliced off. They're just going to take the lens out at that point.
Yeah.
Instead of just blasting.
Yeah, but I'm hoping to avoid that because everything they're doing is not covered by my insurance. That just sounds expensive.
Wait, you're saying none of it's covered by your insurance?
My insurance company was like, nope, we won't cover anything related to your eyes. It's like, you bastards. I just bought you. Alright, we gotta end on something happier than that. Who's got something awesome happening?
Derailed back to something. I was going to read Trump's position on healthcare, but the website started making noises, so I had to shut it.
Trump thinks the people who can't get up and walk for themselves are douchebags. They should go back to Mexico first. Where they came from.
I was going to say, anyone who's an invalid is a Mexican to him.
Can't talk good English either.
He made fun of our
Minecraft
airport.
Mystery Build Night.
That's coming up tonight.
I have no idea what to do.
It's on YouTube now, guys.
We should Oh yeah.
We started doing our gaming on YouTube 1 week before YouTube Gaming launched. So there's a whole new platform.
And we're not prepared to do like YouTube Gaming yet. That'll probably be next week. So we're just doing a normal live stream on YouTube tonight.
Yeah, we just set up a live stream. I don't know what the difference between that and YouTube Gaming is. We haven't looked into it. Because we didn't have time. Like yesterday was pretty full and today was pretty full, and we got to all get on board at the same time. And
did everyone switch to all of a sudden talking to the audience?
What?
Everyone's pronoun usage suddenly switched. Like, and you guys were talking to the audience. That's not actually.
Yeah, Tony started that.
That was weird. I was like, what? This isn't normal. I couldn't figure out what was different.
I did the ending thing where I was like, and that was the end of the thing, and then we started talking about the podcast that we're doing. So at that point, you have to sort of depersonalize yourself.
I like talking to the audience.
Okay. At any rate,
they're awesome.
I was trying to inform people about our
me, but the thing is, I don't know what's going on.
Remember, folks, this is
like
Joseph wanting you to just be silenced. He doesn't want you to be part of this conversation. Our beautiful supporters.
They're not part of the conversation.
Do not tweet us about this podcast. We do not want your comments or your questions.
Please comment in questions.
So we don't. Oh no, I'm doing it.
You're in your headspace too much, Joseph. It's not that big a deal.
I'm very well aware of that. It was the switch in pronouns that got me. I started really thinking about talking because I couldn't figure out what was different. And then, you get that point where your brain is like...
tongue thing work in my mouth?
Yeah. The brain's like, hey, I'm a weird organ. No one knows how I work, and now you don't know how to work me. Yay! So we don't know what the difference between YouTube live streaming and YouTube gaming is. Is this correct?
Yes.
Do you want me to Google it right now? What is YouTube?
No, because then we'll have to start thinking about switching, and I just want to roll into
What is YouTube
tonight.
poop? No, thank you.
Actually, I don't know.
YouTube Gaming launch poses a challenge to Twitch. Apparently, there wasn't a challenge beforehand.
Not really. Is there something Twitch is?
Because honestly, I like the whole
level of intelligence.
I really like the streaming service that we got before YouTube Gaming was a thing. I don't know what they changed.
I think it's all about categorization. Like, I have a feeling you could go in and click like
games
Minecraft
are getting
and
their
see
own landing pages. Okay.
Yeah, so you can go and see, you could go and click, hey, I want to watch people play Minecraft, and you've got a whole selection of Minecraft people, etc.
Yeah, because they did ask me for keywords and stuff and had sort of a...
It makes it easier to find streams, is the gist.
What I was going to say about before we got off onto this topic, was it'd be interesting I really want to switch up the order one of these weeks. I realized that would start causing havoc with some of the later hours. I'd have to stay up or be at my desk until 9, I guess. But it's really weird starting. I really want to see what it's like not starting the build 1 week.
Okay.
And see, the strangeness that Al builds starting out.
Yeah, I'm down for starting.
I want you guys to see what it's like having to be like, all right, I got to make something, but it can't... Anyway.
Well, I am down for that. I'd be sure happy to start. Get me out of that a little bit earlier, and that would be cool.
Yeah,
I can stay last because I'm in, the weird time zone.
Yeah, I mean,
how is it the weird time?
People always say that it's a weird time zone because it's TV shows start at weird times. Everything just gets a little weird.
Yes. They don't actually swap the programming for 2 hours. So it's really
So it's really 7 o'clock whenever everything's starting. At least you get out of Monday Night Football early enough.
Yes, that's very true. And it's not California where football starts at 8 a.m. on Sundays.
Yeah, 10.
I was the one in the weird time zone, though, with it not being in the rest of Florida
Yeah, just the little sliver.
Joseph was so perplexed about that for so long.
I still don't. I don't.
Oh, remember,
like,
there's
what? Wait a
that
minute,
one county in New Mexico or whatever that's in a different time zone, and that's the only one. Like, it's just weird how they decide that.
Well, I think it is about time to wrap this up,
Yeah,
though.
we've been talking for a little bit.
For the folks, are you okay if I address the folks at home, Joseph? Will you be okay if I say thank you for listening
concept.
to people who aren't you or Tony?
It wasn't me standing against that in principle. It was me not just being able to process it and then completely going kaflooey. Go ahead, Albert.
Thanks, guys, for listening. If you are hearing this, I assume that this is the bonus podcast, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you're hearing this, it means that you are supporting us with your dollars, and we appreciate that. And that's why we're doing this as a big thank you, because we love our supporters, and we could not do it without you. So thank you so much. We'll be back.
Or just check out our free stuff, because, I mean, it's awesome that you listened this far. We love you for that.
And again, we're going to try to do more of these. We're going to do at least 2 a month. I'm pushing these guys to do maybe like 1 a week, but that's time constraints and stuff, so we'll figure out what we can do. But thank you, and we will be back with our regular podcast and more bonus podcasts coming up.
All right, have a good one.